Hi, patrons, and actually, hi, everybody else. We're going to take a look at the weekend forecast and storm forecasts. The weekend forecast is for the 7th through the 9th. That's my normal weekend forecast, which normally just goes to patrons. But because we're going to combine it with the storm forecast for tomorrow, we're going to send out the storm forecast, weekend forecast to everybody. So, patrons, you're getting this forecast, but everybody else is going to get it as well. It's kind of a bonus this week. Once in a while, I do this just to kind of give everybody. It's a good reminder that if you want these weekend forecasts every week, you can become a patron. There's a link in the description below that talks about how you can do that. Otherwise, let's take a look at what's going on. We are entering a busy weather pattern. Still no giant storms, I don't think, out there, although we are going to talk about a storm over the weekend, Saturday night into Sunday, which will be bigger than we've had. But this system falls very much in line with what we've had in many ways for a lot of the systems recently, which is it's a system that is not exceedingly well organized and doesn't have a tremendous amount of moisture with it, and it will be a quick mover. So what's happening here is things are getting organized, and by tomorrow, mid-morning, we are going to have some snow in here, and I think the storm is going to mostly fall as snow. There could be a little bit of freezing drizzle to end the system, but I think for the most part, this is just snow, and it's not going to be a huge snowmaker, but it will impact travel tomorrow. School issues are a possibility. Not quite sure what schools are going to do with this one, since most of the snow will actually fall while the kiddos would be in school. Let's look at radar here. You can see there's not a huge amount of moisture. We are starting to tap a little bit more moisture from the south and the east, and this bigger system to the north and west is sort of connected, but it's not entirely connected. This system coming onshore across the Pacific Northwest is part of the energy that will create our storm that's going to happen over the weekend. We'll talk about that later in the forecast as we talk about the weekend forecast. So let's take a quick look here at what's going on in terms of the upper level. And you can see there's not a lot of great upper level support for this system. Here's a big, strong piece of upper level energy. This is going to kind of stretch itself out and become energy that impacts us mostly over the weekend. There's a little hint of some upper level energy that's kind of creating the surface, but this is mostly, there's not a lot of, we're not getting the upper level, the mid level, and the low levels to all kind of come together in a big storm. And we still have kind of a bit of a northern flow here, and this is kind of more of a southern flow jet stream, a little bit kind of split flow. We've had that for a lot of the winter. That has kind of made it so that we haven't gotten any big storms. But we are getting a little bit more. What's really happened here over the last couple of weeks is that the warmer air to our south has gotten closer to us, which has allowed more moisture to make its way in, even though we haven't been that much warmer. And we're not going to be that much warmer. It's closer by, and so as that gets closer, it puts us closer to the storm track, which is why we've gotten a little bit more active here in the pattern of late. Let's take a look at temperatures. Again, you can see that, right? 70s have made their way all the way up into northern Georgia. Atlanta's in the 70s today, 50s and 60s in a lot of places in the southeast. But still quite cold in Canada. No crazy Arctic outbreaks currently way up in northern Greenland, but are way up around the North Pole. Not surprisingly that it's cold up there. But in general, cold and some cold enough weather to our north. This is pretty typical of February, right? February, we start to see some hints of spring to our south and our west. But winter's holding on hard here across the north, across Canada, and the battle zone starts to become why we often get more snow in February than we do in January, and sometimes March. Obviously, that lingers in too as well. And then February, the rest of February does look pretty active with lots of chances. Still not set up right for big blockbuster 2-foot type of snowstorms, but we could see a series of a couple times a week we get snowstorms, and it looks like they may be a little bit bigger than we've been here, where that's sort of been the pattern anyway, but we've gotten like an inch or two at a time. Maybe instead of an inch or two, we get several inches each time. So not that that's going to happen twice a week for the rest of the month or anything. But here's the weather map for tomorrow afternoon. And this is kind of, actually the snow will be starting to wrap up here at this point. So basically what's happening is we get a little bit of connection from this low pressure system that has the weak one that's sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze there. Developing kind of across the southeast United States, and that big upper level low we were looking at earlier, which is well to our north and west. And what's going to happen here is it's not really even a front. There's a little bit of a warm front between the two, but it's almost more kind of a stationary. It's not really a stationary front either. It's kind of a boundary layer, though, that's sort of slowly moving north. It is the temperature difference on either side of it's not huge. The real temperature difference, the warm sector is kind of down here to the south and east of this storm. And because this system is developing, it's keeping us from, instead of going to our west, because it goes to our south, even though we are moving some at mid levels and upper levels, moving some warmer air in a loft, it's keeping the surfaces a little bit cooler, just cold enough so that everything stays basically snow and maybe at the very end we transition to a little bit of, as the precipitation gets real light, sometimes you move to drizzle, freezing drizzle right then. I don't think it's going to be enough of that freezing drizzle at the end to cause any additional problems. It's just going to be a little slick from a few inches, a couple inches of snow. So let's go the right direction here. Let's talk about this is what it looks like on radar. You can see this is not a long duration storm. It gets in and out real quick. This is an hour by hour kind of look. You can see as you get through the end of it, there's a little bit of pink left over at the end. Some of the models are a little bit, have even a little bit less of the pink in here with the drizzle and the freezing rain at the end. This is probably one of the warmer model runs. This is the HRRR model. But in general, I think maybe a little bit of that, but most of the precipitation falls as snow. And you can see it could snow moderately for a little bit. That will be enough to slicken up the roads, but it's not going to be a huge event or anything like that, but it will cause some problems. We'll have to talk about impacts in terms of things like that. But in general, 1 to 2 inches for basically everybody except for the higher elevations where it's more like a 2 to 3 inch storm. Wouldn't be shocked if there was a 4-inch amount somewhere in here at the highest elevations, the ski areas, things like that. But in general, just enough to kind of make things slick during the day. Timing, like I said, is going to be a little tough because it probably will be dry through the time kids would get to school, and things will actually be getting better as they let the kids out of school. Schools go all over the place on this, so I hesitate to even tell you what I think is going to happen. Sometimes they just close because it could be slippery during the day and they don't want the buses out there then. Sometimes they might try to do an early dismissal. That's not really going to help tomorrow. Or they may just go to school. So I know that's not real helpful, but that's sort of, I think, what could happen. And I don't envy the school, the people making decisions there either, because it's not an easy storm. You could end up, if you go to school, you could end up driving during some pretty kind of tough situations with the buses, but you could also not really end up, but you could also end up canceling and not really needing to. So, we've had a lot of these this year. Hasn't been an easy year to kind of make those kinds of decisions. Storm details. Snow begins between about 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you're out early, should be dry. Precipitation ends between 1 and 3. So this is like a 5-6 hour event. It's pretty quick. The bulk of the snow comes in like a 2-3 hour period there where we might get half an inch of snow per hour. That's where it will get slippery towards the middle of the day. Bulk of the precipitation falls as snow. We could man as a little freezing drizzle. Snow totals are generally 1 to 3 inches, maybe up to 4 for the highest elevations. Travel will be slick throughout the day, getting better as you head later into the afternoon tomorrow. So yeah, that's sort of what things are looking like. Then all our attention turns to the next storm, which this is going to be a Saturday night and a Sunday. This system will have a little more moisture with it, and this system could bring definitely a much better chance of getting like 6+ inches of snow. It might be closer to 6. Most of the models are there. There's a couple models that give us a little bit more than that. And it's still a relatively quick mover. This is basically for one day we go from southwestern Missouri to off the coast of New England. But it's got a little bit more lift, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more upper level support with this one. And so it could snow pretty good overnight Saturday. Basically Saturday evening snow happens and we wrap up by Sunday morning. We're just kind of light snow. So the bulk of the snow falls overnight Saturday night. And this could add up a little bit more. Like I said, we haven't had a storm that's really given us more than 3 or 4 inches in quite some time. And this one definitely has the possibility of doing that. This is not going to be a blockbuster either, but it definitely has the chance to give us more snow than we've gotten in a little while. Let's take a look at the weekend forecast here for you. I'm not going to give you a snowfall total on the Sunday forecast. We're a little too far out for it, but 6+ I think is generally like the danger zone we're in. And when I say 6+, if I was thinking it was going to be way plus, I'd be telling you that, but I think it's going to be 6 in that 6-inch range, maybe a little bit more depending on track and precipitation amounts. So for Friday, in terms of the weekend, basically the weekend looks pretty quiet other than that. Friday is we're kind of seasonably cool for most of the weekend with temperatures in the upper 20s. We fall back into the teens. Saturday, sunny, getting more and more cloudy throughout the afternoon. Temperatures a little bit colder. Snow coming down pretty good. If you got to travel Saturday night, try to avoid it. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be snowy. Sunday morning could be a little snowy, but it should be getting better as you head through Sunday morning. Timing will definitely move around a little bit as we get closer to the system as well. Basically, temperatures in the 20s on Sunday, back down to the single numbers Sunday night. And in general, we're looking at kind of 20s as highs for quite some time here as we go forward. I was looking at the extended forecast, and I think that's going to be the case as well. Weekend highlights: winter wet-like weekend with seasonably cool temperatures and the chance for snow. Highs generally in the 20s with lows in the teens for the weekend. Saturday night into Sunday morning brings our most significant snowstorm in a while. That looks to be pretty fluffy snow, I think, for the most part. Should be a powder day on Sunday. Exactly how much powder is a little tough to tell, but shouldn't be real deep. So if you like to ski powder, but you're like, I don't want to do 2 feet, This won't be a 2-foot storm. Could be kind of hero-like snow, so it should be real good skiing this weekend. Skiing's pretty good anyway right now. We've had a decent amount of snow and not too much in the way of warmth. Too early to call for exact amounts. However, 6+ inches looks likely at this point. Like I said, kind of probably closer to 6 than like a foot, but we'll see. The active weather pattern continues with multiple storms possible next week. Multiple storm possibilities next week. Most of those look like snow, although there could be some mixed in there as well, and it's a little too early, obviously, to tell on those, but the active pattern does continue. So that's what's going on. A lot going on. Trying to keep up with the forecasts. Life's been pretty hectic, so I haven't been able to get out as many as I'd like, but trying to get as many out as I can. I do want to give a quick thank you to my patrons for whom this forecast is mostly made today, but also as I give it to everybody else. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you do get this weekend forecast on Wednesdays throughout the year. Gives you an idea of what's happening on the weekend. Otherwise, I try to make sure I get a forecast out to everybody on Monday and Friday, and then do some additional ones as we have interesting weather. So yeah, that's what's going on. I will be back Friday morning with a look at the weekend forecast. By then, I should have a better idea on the Sunday system, and especially if that starts to look a little bit more significant even than I'm thinking now. I'll try to have at least one more forecast out for you on that one too. All right, thanks for supporting the channel. Appreciate it. I'll be back on Friday with an updated look at the weekend forecast.